Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Ultra Confusion Thursday Night Hangout. I am your host, Charlie, and I'm joined once again by the prolific cover himself, Zealeus.
So, the weird thing is, I stepped outside my doorstep today, and I was like, am I in Minnesota or am I in Atlanta? I'm very confused. Because I stepped outside today and felt like I was in Minnesota again, on a beautiful February day in Minnesota, mind you. Not a cold day in Atlanta where schools are canceled because I guess Johnny doesn't own more than one coat to wear. I don't know.
It's not Johnny you need to worry about. It's Johnny's parents. The wonderful thing about Atlanta is when the weather changes in anything, in any way, it's going to be accidents everywhere. So,
I guess accidents and cold weather are somehow
related.
Yes, that boggles my mind.
Indeed it is.
I mean, granted, we had some dusting on Wednesday. Yes, there was dusting yesterday. It was a beautiful sight to be seen.
I missed the entire thing.
You were locked inside your cave, I'm guessing.
Yeah, right here.
Oh.
Staying right here, facing that way.
You could. Oh, as I say, you could open your window, but I guess that window.
But I wasn't faced. I wasn't faced that way. I was faced that way.
Oh, it's a beautiful sight, man. You
Okay.
gave it a little pitter patter.
Okay.
Anyways,
All right.
enough about the weather.
Let's get right into the news.
News.
First of all, let's get over some. Let's just do the local news real quick. The wonderful establishment that was once upon a time in Marietta and has now moved to Sandy Springs, Battle and Brew, is finally opening. It's going to have an opening party, ironically, March 13th, which is Friday the 13th.
Spooky.
Starting at 5 o'clock. So be there, be square. But I won't be there right at 5 because I've got to work.
Well, you know, you gotta have priorities, yo. I'm just saying. I don't know. I'm not saying it should be work or if it should be play, but you gotta have priorities.
Anyways, okay, so now that we have that out of the way, let us get into the real meat of this chit-chat hangout
I do like it.
this evening. Okay, let's start off with, I picked out a couple of topics, okay? And Zealeus knows about half of them.
Okay.
If Zealeus was online today, he would know the other half, but he wasn't.
Of course, even if I've read them online or if you told me in the past, I probably forgot soon anyways.
That's why I was hoping that you would log on today to give you a heads up.
Like I say, I would have forgot anyways by the time I got here.
Bull. I don't believe that. Okay, so let's start off right. The wonderful, wonderful is probably the wrong word to use, but let's say the illicit practices that certain developers are utilizing to bolster their ranking in Project Greenlight.
Yes.
Steam Greenlight.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, what's happening is developers are basically trading free keys for upvotes so they can get onto Steam.
I downvote that.
Now, okay, so here's the biggest issue, okay? From my understanding, Steam actually gives you a little bit of moolah once it gets enough upvotes and it's decided to.
Okay.
So basically, from a financial standpoint, what's happening is Valve or Steam, whatever you want to call it, is basically financing these games and then not receiving any return because the only people who are picking up the games are those who already have the free keys thanks to the developers. So developers are basically making a game for free because Steam is paying whatever, or they're ending up basically coming out on top, which, okay, that is terrible. And unfortunately, because apparently this has become quite rampant in the Greenlight developers, that a lot of developers who are just coming on to Greenlight thinks that's the way the thing should be, which is unfortunate. It is not.
But it's also kind of, I mean, it doesn't make it right by any stretch of the imagination, but if you also come in as a new developer, and the only way to get upvotes is to give away free keys, I mean, it sucks, but are you really left with a choice of a new developer if you want to kind of, you know, keep up with the Benjamins, basically? I mean, is there a choice? And it's obviously not a good choice, but what else are you going to do if that's what everybody else is doing?
Right. And you're absolutely right. If you are going... Okay, so here's the deal. If you're going to be trying to game the system like that, I think you're better off just kickstarting your project. Because basically, so now, yes, I understand. A lot of you're probably not going to get all those people that do the upvote because all they have to do is upvote. They don't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
Whereas with Kickstarter, they're going to have to shell up some money.
But at the same time, though, if you make it big on the Steam Greenlight, I think the long-term potential as a company is stronger if you make it on Greenlight versus Kickstarter. Kickstarter, you're talking about one game that's not even on really a distribution platform at this point. Whereas if you make it on Steam Greenlight, well, guess what? You're on Steam, which is obviously the de facto PC distribution service. So now you have a much better inlet into the gaming platform. So I think if you're a game developer, I would want to make it, if I had a choice between Steam Greenlight and Kickstarter, I'd probably want to make it in Steam Greenlight.
I would double dip.
Yes,
I would do Kickstarter, and then have all those that back it automatically, and then submit your game about halfway through your Kickstarter campaign. Submit your game over to Project Greenlight, and then have all those that have backed you go over to Steam and upvote it, so that you not only get the money from the people, which also shows Valve that you're actually serious. You're not trying to just mooch off them.
Yep.
This is actually the same tactic that a lot of people did for the Ouya Free the Game campaign, where people were putting in a shit ton of money, and then Ouya would basically match it, and then they would basically return all the money.
So you know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
I know it's not nearly to the same degree, but the first thing that actually came to mind was Gamergate. Because the way this whole started is because they thought that she was selling her reviews for favors, right? To me, this is absolutely no better. To sell your upvotes, which is basically a different function of reviews, because guess what? People go on Steam, and guess what? They're going to look on the Greenlight. They're going to look at the number of upvotes.
Right.
They're going to look at the approval rating, because it's very nice there, because they got the very positive, the negative, the very negative. That's very evident that Steam gives to games. So to me, this is no better. I mean, I'm not trying to talk about Gamergate, so probably shouldn't have brought that up. But the idea of selling votes for anything, for keys or money or any other thing, to me is just not right.
Right.
And it just puts an entire falsehood on your game itself, on the votes it receives, and everything else. And as a gamer, I want to go on and see. I like to check out the Steam reviews and see what people said, their thumbs up, their thumbs down. And to know that, a lot of thumbs up on this are happening because of, basically bribery, it sucks. And, the problem is, too, is, you have an online game or online system such as Steam Greenlight, and anytime you have a voting mechanism in place, people are always trying to game it. For instance, take Yelp, for instance. There's been accusations against Yelp for years that basically they strong-arm businesses into paying Yelp for basically positive reviews or to remove negative reviews. I have no idea if those are valid or not because I've never used Yelp as a business. But anytime you have an online voting system, you're always going to have that issue of, how is the company treating you? Or are people going to game the system? Are your rivals going to come in and try to downvote you just to, screw you over? Or how's that all going to play out?
Right. Absolutely. So it's still happening, and Valve is basically now has finally come out and said, you guys got to stop. So we'll see what happens.
So let me ask you this. Do you think there's a better, so right now, you kind of got the thumbs up system for Greenlight. Do you think there's a better alternative to kind of curate or get the, well, still having, because I like the idea of having the community involvement of, who's voting on the games and getting involved, and I think is great. But do you think that there's a better system to kind of get that community involved to get that involvement without allowing them to game the system also?
Maybe. And the thing is, any system you put into place and then you allow the general public access to it, there's a chance that it's going to be corrupt. One of the things that Zealeus did bring up on the website, oh yeah, he's taking off the hobo gloves because I actually warmed up this place.
Yes.
Dude. All right. Anyways, I got sidetracked. All right. So you have to put a gatekeeper system in there. Now, the unfortunate thing is you're trying to create a, you want a system that's easy for people to interact with, but at the same time, if you're going to police it, there's going to be issues. There's going to be conceptions, misinterpretations of people's votes or whatever. Is there a perfect system? I don't think so. I think really, I personally would like the double dip system of maybe do like Indiegogo project or a Kickstarter project, and then make it, and then once you're halfway through that project, put it on Steam Greenlight to basically fund the other half. Now, the unfortunate thing is with Kickstarter is you have to make your goal.
Yep.
So that, of course, then goes into, do you lowball your project thinking that, I could show that I get some money from Kickstarter, and then I will get the vast majority of it from Steam Greenlight.
Or do you utilize stretch goals that if you hit that point?
And I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're a developer out there and you utilize a Kickstarter, stretch goals are the most dangerous thing about your project. Because what happens is, hopefully you have budgeted out all the money that's required to make the product that you envision. Now, of course, stretch goals are an incentive for people to keep giving you money and also to kind of make your game more robust. But the thing you have to take into consideration, which is something that Double Fine Adventures did not take into consideration, Planetary Annihilation, and a bunch of other games, is that when you see that you have made it to your goal, you kind of think, oh shit, the sky's the limit. I'll make, we'll add, 8 new characters, and we'll do, 5 more levels, and we'll do an entire soundtrack. And the thing is, you get all these lofty ideas, and you don't take into consideration how much it's going to cost for the time, for adding in the extra art, for the testing and all that stuff. I mean, I want to say that Double Fine had $3.5 million at the end of their thing for Double Fine Adventures. It's supposed to be an entire game. It's now called Broken Age Episode 1, by the way. They ran through $3.5 million and didn't even have an alpha. So that tells you that their set goal was $400,000, which is astronomical. It's a lot of money, but at the end of the day, they still found a way to flush all the money away. So for me, I have to go with maybe you have to do like an entry application showing that you have previously had a funding adventure, or perhaps this game is already selling on another platform and you're just trying to port it.
Because we all love ports.
For the love of God, if you're going to port, make it different, okay? Oh God! Unless, of course, the game. Let's say that the game is phenomenal. Okay, it depends on the way you port. If you're going from a small platform to the PC, for the love of God, make it better, make it more awesome. Don't keep the mobile version and then just port it to the computer. That will drive me personally nuts, and I know there's quite a few people out there who do that. Now, if you have an amazing PC game and you're able to port it to like a cell phone, more kudos to you, my friend. You are awesome. That's okay in my book.
Sure.
All right. So, Greenlight, do you have a solution?
Me? Well, the suggestion I suggested was basically have a cabal of, I call it the cabal, of, kind of respected game. I wouldn't even put them in the category of game reviewers, like people from, I'm just throwing out, IGN or Giant Bomb. I wouldn't even have them from those websites. Mm-hmm. But just people who have been very dedicated, I would say even on the Steam forums. Mm-hmm. And those, people who've kind of rose to the top. And where I kind of get that idea from is, so a website I frequent is metafilter.com. And we were talking earlier about moderating, and the way that they do it is basically they hire moderators for their website.
Right.
But all of their moderators, previous to becoming a moderator at Metafilter, were extremely involved in the community, usually through posting. And so they're already kind of like respected people in the community. Mm-hmm. and they already kind of knew of the culture and the experience and expectations of what was going on in that community of this web blog basically. So they weren't just bringing random people from the outside. Who knows what the hell they're going to do? They're people that were already known, and that I've kind of liked the way that they've held it. And they also have a $5 registration fee to even post on the website, which I think is interesting. But anyways,
okay. Well, the thing is, yes, I like that idea. First of all, hello to everyone out there who's watching and tuning in. Hello. Just in case you're wondering, I am able to type and do everything. I'm typing over here off screen, so I am actually paying attention to you. Just in case you're like, this guy's not paying attention to me. The scars that show and Game Toast Twitch.
I'm just ignoring y'all, so don't worry.
Okay, so he's one track mind.
I just
anyways.
Do my own thing.
Okay, I like that idea of having like vetted individuals basically be on a panel. Now, of course, when you talk about projects with anything where you have a judging panel to determine if your game's going to make it on Steam or whatever, my one concern is, can that individual be bought? And then we go into like a crazy amount of stuff, and you hope that it's pure, but at some point there's going to be some kind of influence to some people. Or are these individuals anonymous and they are constantly, you don't know, you have, okay, let's say that you have a huge pool of individuals that will look over, let's say that you've met a requirement, you've had enough likes, ups, whatever, to get your game on projects, Greenlight, and now you've gotten to the phase where you have the
voting.
Oh my gosh, the judging of your product. So you have this large pool, and then Steam will randomly select.
So you're saying it's maybe you have like 100 approved selectors.
Yeah.
In each game, they maybe get 10 random ones.
Yes.
In that way, you kind of reduce any chance of potential conflicts of interest.
And you try to keep the anonymity to it, where you don't know. It's never publicly known who worked on it. Now, of course, someone could go, "Well, I was the reason why you got your game on Steam," and then I would immediately remove that person from the pool.
That's an interesting idea. So I think there are variations of that could work. Yeah. So that's kind of the way I would go, because anytime you have massive voting capabilities, it's always so susceptible to basically gaming the system. I mean, look what's happened with Time Magazine whenever they have the Person of the Year. Yeah. Like Reddit or Dig or whoever always upvotes some dumb person or whatever to number one. I mean, that's just what happens.
The Poodle Man! I'm just making up stuff. Maybe Poodle Man is Time's Man of the Year.
We will never know!
Okay, so let's table the Greenlight discussion. I'm sure we'll come back to it at a later date or sooner than later or whatever. But I do want, there's a couple other topics that I'd like to cover.
Indeed.
One of them, and this is one that, okay, so Alter Confusion is an independent video game news review website. What that means is, first of all, we're independent. We have no affiliations. But also, we review mostly independently developed games. So I've been playing a lot of games lately. You may have if you're looking at our YouTube channel, you might have seen that I have a ton of playthroughs that I've just posted. The latest one was for Decay the Mare. Something that I have now, I don't know, it's not a pet peeve, but it's something that started to bother me. And that is the infamous, the not so forgiving, the thing that could just completely ruin your game, the loading screen.
The loading screen, oh no!
So, okay, so here's my question to you, Zealeus.
Okay.
In games that you play, first of all, is there a time, okay, is there games out there that have loading screens and like, why are you making me load here?
Okay, the only game that truly has ever pissed me off about the loading screens is Mass Effect, when you're going to the damn elevator from C-Sec trying to get up to your stupid Normandy.
Okay, yes.
It's like a minute and a half load screen just sit there. And it could be completely quicker, but basically when it was developed originally, the developer, for some reason or some technical reason why they made it as long as it is, and they just never change it for other ports.
Right.
Anyways, I'm probably a terrible person to ask because I honestly don't care about load screens. They just don't bother me. I mean, any of the video games I play that have load screens, it's like, okay, they're over in like 5-10 seconds. Load screens are something that don't really bother me anymore. Some games try to do away with them. I know, like, Diablo 3 is always loading future content you're walking to in the background, so in theory you don't ever need a load screen and stuff, but for the most part, load screens I don't really care about, but I'm guessing you have a awesome reason for caring about load screens so much.
Portal 2 is really bad. Loading screens every time you die. Okay, yes. Okay, so...
I'm ashamed to say I've never played Portal 2.
I've never played... I'm going to be honest with you. Portal 1, I got, like, a good chunk through, and then I had one of those, like, rage quit moments, and I never came back. Just going to be honest. There was just something about Portal that I'm just like, you son of a bitch!
Did the cube hit you in the head?
No, I just kept getting shot. There is a game, and I cannot remember. It's on the Ouya. It's a game in which you're trying to navigate the sleepwalking guy by throwing objects in front of the individual.
I know, gamer. I saw you play.
It's like something sleep. It's like Beyond Sleep or something. Anyways,
it's like an MC Escher video game.
Exactly. So what happens is if your sleepwalking individual falls off the level, your sleepwalker just basically falls off the level and then gets thrown back. No load screen.
Okay.
But if like later on in the game you have enemies that can basically take out the sleeper, and then that incurs a load screen.
Well, okay, let me ask you this though.
Yes.
These load screens, because I've never developed a game, so I don't know. Are these load screens technically necessary? Like when they're loading, is it because there's a technical reason, like, oh, we have to refresh the GUI? Or is there actually just the developers are lazy? It's like, let's throw in a load screen because we can.
Okay, so a couple things. Because once upon a time I was a developer.
Indeed, that's why I was checking with you.
So there's a couple reasons for load screens. One is like if you want to reset a fight. Let's say you're doing an RTS. No, not an RTS. Turn-based strategy.
Okay.
Heroes
of Might and Magic.
Heroes of Might and Magic. Let's say that you want to redo the battle. What you would do, what the load screen would do, would basically just reset those among the sleep. I think that's it. No, is it among the sleep?
I don't know.
Fuck. I'll have to look it up. I'm sorry. I'll look it up. I swear to God.
Load screens.
Load screens, right? One of the reasons is so that you can basically reset everything, and so one of the reasons is so you don't see a bunch of things basically just like flash back to their starting positions.
Yeah.
So what they do is they just take down the entire thing and then reload it so it looks crisper.
Makes sense.
Another reason is if you don't want to tax out a computer system or if you have limited memory to work with, what you try to do is you try to load in a specific level, and then you get to navigate that as much as you want to, until hold on one sec, we'll get to you in just a second, Limbo Light. But the thing is, there are certain games out there who because I have a developer background, I know that they don't have to have that many load screens. One of the games that I've been playing, Supreme League of Patriots. It's a point-and-click adventure game about being a superhero, a really bad superhero. But anyways, a superhero. But literally, you're in the apartment. It's a room. It's a stationary camera. You don't move at all. The objects, everything that you can interact with is on that screen. If you go into the bedroom, I'm not talking about going to a different location. If you go into the bedroom, that incurs a load screen. That should not happen. So, okay. I'm going to butcher your name. Okibi0. I would love if there was an option to like toggle the load screen. The reality is that at some point you're going to have a load screen either to load into the game or, of course, if you're going to load a save game, any kind of actual like loading of the entire game, I think that's okay. But when you try to basically throw load screen at everything. I can't. Oh, there's a game out there. I wish. There's a game out there that oh my gosh, I just blanked. Damn it! Oh, I was so close. Oh, I was having an epiphany.
What are you talking about?
Something about load screens.
I know. I
know. Okay, here's the deal. You want to use the load screen? Utilize it the way that there are games out there. Dying Light is an example where not only do you get a load screen, but you also get some hints and some information. That's a little bit.
They are. I will say they are much better when there's actually something useful on the screen.
If it's just a picture of it saying loading. I think we're past that point. I don't think we need to do that anymore.
At least Mass Effect with the damn minute and a half, the elevator had the CSEC news in the background.
Okay.
There was that.
Okay. Limbo Light, we're going to take your question right now, and that, of course, is the top 3 games of all time for both of you. Zealeus is going to be awesome at this. I can already tell. I'm going to go.
Wow.
I'm going to go right off the bat, and I believe that I have a game that both Zealeus and I will both have on our list. Hello! And that is Masters of Magic from the Microprose years, many years ago. And it's very saddening that this game never got a sequel. Now, of course, there was a spiritual successor that no one will call a spiritual successor because it sucked balls so bad, and that, of course, was Elemental.
But the follow-up to that...
Oh, right. Well, I mean, they got one of the best modders to basically redo the entire game.
I forget what the follow-up was, but the follow-up was pretty decent, at least. I'll say that.
It's like the Frozen Enchantress or something like that.
Well, which ironically was basically what the mod was for Civ 4.
Well, yeah, I mean, right, but they made it playable.
Okay. So that's your number 1.
Yes. Okay. I don't know if I could do like 1, 2, 3.
Okay, number 1 of 3, but not necessarily in the order given.
Masters of Magic. Oh man.
Okay, so I'll go with my number 1.
All right, go.
All right, so the first one for me is going to be, keep in mind, when I'm going with my choices, and I think Charlie's in the same boat, not necessarily the number 1 game to play today, but just like as kind of history of games for me, my number 1 would have to be GoldenEye 64.
Okay, yep.
So on the 64, you know, we are in your 30s, so if you're in your 20s, you've probably never played GoldenEye 64, unfortunately. But basically, it set the bar for every single FPS to come. You played, and basically, I remember playing in my friend's Cog's basement, and he had this big projection screen TV. And
it was awesome.
It was 4-player deathmatch to the end, and it was pure FPS deathmatch.
The split screens. Okay, so you know,
I love split screen.
In GoldenEye, you know, you have a split screen of 4, right? With this guy's setup, literally each screen from the split was the size of like a 50-inch TV.
And my favorite part, actually, people consider cheating, was because you had every screen. No. You had every screen, and you'd watch, if you knew the maps well enough, you'd actually watch their map to see where they were on their mini-map and just go hunt them down and camp them, basically.
Absolutely.
So that would be mine, and it came, granted, after Quake. You know, it was post-Quake, which was a great game in itself, but I would still, for me, GoldenEye still gets the nod over Quake.
Okay. Let's see here.
So your number 2.
My number 2. Okay. So a lot of people are not going to like this game, and to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure why I like it so much anymore. But
great introduction.
Well, the thing is, I like this series, but the thing is, the series drag. Oh yeah, that series too. Shit. Okay. Favorite game genre. Whew. Okay, maybe that's a better question than the top 3 games of all time.
Well, my genre's easy. MMOs. So my number 2 game was actually going to be World of Warcraft. I got way heavily into World of Warcraft back in the day when it was still like vanilla. Now the expansions, did all the 40-man rating and shit, and I sunk a lot of time into that game. And I actually just picked up this past weekend Warlords of Draenor.
Yep.
I know it's
so we're not going to see much of Zealeus on the website. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but he's been sucked back into the WoW.
Sorry, independent games. World of Warcraft is taking over my gaming life again. Sad to say. So I'm back into World of Warcraft, and since then I've played other MMOs such as Rift, which I loved, Final Fantasy 14, which I'll probably get into when the new expansion comes out again.
Let's talk about the MMO that you bought a subscription to and then moved and never got to play. Huh?
WildStar, yes.
Yes.
Wildstorm just didn't do it for me. I thought it was going to be awesome and great, and I just got bored of it.
I swear to
It
God,
didn't do it for me.
for anyone who's out there, I swear that like during like the early days of WildStar, when they were talking it up, when no one was able to really get their hands on it, I swear to God that it was multi-planets, where you could be traveling from planet to planet, and then they scrap the whole
I don't remember that at all. I think
I swear to God that basically everyone, maybe I'm just making this shit up.
I think you are.
But I swear that, wow, I'm swearing a lot, that a lot of, a lot of people were calling it like a spiritual successor to Firefly MMO, because that thing has been opened and closed and opened and closed and thrown in back burners everywhere.
But the developers themselves were calling it the spiritual successor to WoW Vanilla because it was so hardcore.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't know why this didn't pop up in that chat room, but this individual, XX Pro E1IT3.
Sure.
No, it's. Light.
I'm gonna call it X.
It's light. It's yeah.
X.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Call of Duty 4. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have an issue with the Call of Duties. It basically falls underneath the same category as most sports games, and that is, I feel that, okay, my favorite genre of game is single-player games. I know that is vague as crap, but I'm not a huge multiplayer person. I've played MMOs. I've played WoW. I've played
Lotro.
Defiance, Lotro. I still have a lifetime subscription to Lotro.
And when was the last time you logged in?
I have no idea. I have no recollection. I played DDO. I played Final Fantasy 11. All that stuff. And to be honest with you, I kept like basically saying, no, I'm okay with it. Or I'm okay, I'll move on, because I like to solo. I've played with enough asshats that I don't really want to play with strangers. I'm sorry, that's just the way that I play.
That's what guilds are for.
Huh?
That's what guilds are for.
Right. But I don't stick around long enough to actually get like acquainted enough to join a guild.
Fair enough.
Okay.
The closest I come to Call of Duty is Team Fortress 2. Pre-hats.
Here's my issue with real quick. Here's my issue with Call of Duty and basically any sports franchise is I feel like when you go, it's all about the multiplayer, and you're basically paying $60 for like a couple new maps and a couple new guns for Call of Duty. And when it comes to Madden, you're paying $60 for a roster update, and I'm just gonna let that go. Biggest game letdown. Oh, I'm gonna go with oh my God, the one that had Ellen Page in it.
Last of Us?
Was it Last of? No. That's not Last of Us. It's the other one. It was like
wasn't she
Broken. No. That was actually Ashley Johnson.
Oh sure. They all look the same. I don't know. Brunettes.
Right. Well, okay. Right. Call of Duty seems to have gone worse after Modern Warfare 2. They're running out of decent ideas. The ironic thing is, you're going to have a game that's going to start going after the early Call of Duties, and that, of course, is Assassin's Creed, because they can't go much further into history without Beyond Two Souls. Thank you. That was a huge letdown for me. I wanted the Heavy Rain experience. Heavy Rain was so draining. Actually, okay, that is one of my favorite games. I've played it once. I will never play it again.
It was a great game.
Because I was so emotionally invested in that game. And I wanted that in Beyond Two Souls. And I
remember playing that entire game in one sit-through while you were at work.
Who? What?
Heavy Rain.
Oh, yeah.
You left for work one morning, I sat down and played it and didn't move.
It's so good!
It's
so good!
So I think for me, just because... So a really big game growing up was Duke Nukem.
Okay, we're talking about... We're not talking about the Duke Nukem Forever that was absolute trash.
No, and that, for me, that was a letdown. You know, not just because it was an absolute piece of shit game, but because it's a game that had been vaporware forever. You know, the next Duke Nukem 3D was supposed to be coming out for like a decade. And then it finally came out, it was a complete pile of rubbish. That's a nice way of putting it. Followed closely by Star Wars The Old Republic.
And apparently, I never played this one. Wait, did I play that game?
Tour.
Yeah.
I played it. I played it for remember I played it again for that thing. Yeah, you did. Oh yes,
Yeah, I did. I did play that game.
Remember.
Hey, that's another MMO.
That 24-hour thing. Child's Play. Child's Play.
No, not Child's Play. Extra Life. Extra
Yes,
Life.
whatever.
What 3 games are you looking forward to playing this year? Okay, I'm going to be totally honest with you because I review basically independent games. I really have not been able to look at a lot of the games out there. One of the games that I was dying to get my hands on and got my hands on and has now put like 100. Really? Have I done that? Yeah, I put 140 hours. No, 120 hours into is Dragon Age Inquisition. I would love to see what Halo 5. Is that right? Halo 5? Shit, I can't. The next Halo, Guardians, has a store. That one I'm looking forward to. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones.
I don't really buy games when they come out new. I wait till they're like $10 on Steam at the summer sale. Probably the next Final Fantasy 14 expansion because I played Final Fantasy 14 a lot previously. I've stopped since. But probably the expansion comes out, I'll re-pick up Final Fantasy 14 again because that's a great MMO.
Now, thank you for asking us the question, the games we're looking forward to, because this actually goes into one of the topics I've listed here, and that is how are you going to pick out the next game you pick up? Now, knowing Zealeus, what he's going to do is he's going to wait until it hits the bargain bin.
I really don't have a rhyme or reason for picking games. Like, previous to World of Warcraft, I picked up Vindictus, which is Vindictus, thank you, Vindictus, which is a free-to-play game. I was like, what the hell, I'll give it a shot. It's a pretty fun game, actually. Basically, it's a action RPG where you're just instanced the entire time and when you're actually in dungeons. Each dungeon takes anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes.
Right.
But that's a fun game, so... Like I said, I don't have any games after World of Warcraft once I get bored of that game, really. I normally just kind of go on Steam and be like, what the hell do I plan on playing today? I really don't have plans for my gameplay whatsoever. I know I still want to play that game. That Forex strategy game.
Oh, right. I can't remember off the top of my head.
That is one
I don't
game
know if we're allowed to talk about it yet or not.
That's why I'm just stuck in big terms.
Yeah.
But there is definitely... So going back to the genres, I'll just pick up that one again. I'm big into 4X strategy games. I played every single Civilization game there is for many, many hours. I love the Civ series. Then you got the space ones, Masters of Orion, and all those games. I love...
How about, what the fuck was that one called? Now we're going to, of course, we're dating ourselves the further back we go, but Outpost was literally, it was like you had to build a colony on the moon.
So I like 4X strategy games. There's that.
The question was brought to us, PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. I have an Xbox One. I have no plans of ever buying a PlayStation 4. And now I'm going to go on my rant about Sony. So here's the deal. Sony had this amazing product. It's called the Xbox. The PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 rocked my socks off. I wanted no other console. And then...
Is there anybody who didn't like the PlayStation 2?
I mean, I'm sure there's some hardcore Nintendo fanboys out there who did it. But I'm going to tell you this. After the PlayStation 2, my love of Sony went basically in the toilet. I had no problem with the selection of games. It was basically the way that they were presenting their systems. The PSP was really weird. They went with the UMD format because they wanted to be crazy and all that stuff. Will there ever be a Half-Life 3?
Ask Gabe Newell.
Yeah. If he wants to make more money. Which I don't know why he wouldn't, but anyways. Okay, so PlayStation 3 was supposed to have what the controller was called the Batarang. And then they decided to scrap it, redesign it all, and then they left the Xbox 360 all by its lonesome to master the market. Yes, I understand. Outside the US, it was a completely different story. Microsoft still is having issues, definitely getting into Asia. But there are too many... ball droppings for Sony, for me, to allow me to have any faith in them. Okay, so let's go over this. You have the PSP that had the UMD format. You had the PlayStation 3, which they redesigned the entire controller, and that basically pushed back the release, which allowed Xbox 360 free reign, which was stupid, and they never recovered. They had the dual OS system, which they decided to do away with. They had the backwards compatibility.
Over.
Yeah, because the U.S. Air Force was using the other OS feature, and basically buying shit tons of PlayStation 3s to use as a data farm. Then of course there was the backwards compatibility that went away. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a firm believer in backwards compatibility. I understand that financially it makes no rhyme or reason to have that in your thing. But for nostalgia reasons, I want to be able to play my PlayStation 1, my PlayStation 2, and my PlayStation 3 games on my PlayStation 4, which I'll never have a PlayStation 4, so whatever. I understand what they're trying to do is, first of all, there's compatibility issues. With the original PlayStation 3, they had the hardware to actually do the backwards emulation. The Xbox 360 decided to do software emulation, and that meant that not the entire library was available, and then they basically dropped the entire thing. Wow, I'm like going pow, 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 pow. But let's go back to Sony. Sony decided, you know what? Let's do the digital push. So they came out with the PSP Go. And that's about all I have to say about the PSP Go. Then they came out with the PS Vita. Right? Yeah, they came out with the Vita, which I'm going to be honest with you, sounds cool, but I have no want or desire to get it, and I don't know very many people who got it. Then, of course, came the PlayStation 4. They're going, oh man, we have all these crazy features that we're going to incorporate with the PS Vita and the PlayStation 4. It's going to be awesome! And then they're like basically saying, yeah, we're not going to do that. And then, of course, honestly, one of the final nails in the coffin was I was part of that wonderful PSN hack where my credit card was stolen. And Sony decided to, I guess, not update their shit. So, you know, first of all, I removed my stuff, all my information, replaced all my credit cards, blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, you know, you have the others. I know this is not the Sony Entertainment thing, but you also had the Sony Pictures leak. So I have no faith in Sony. And yes, thank you for saying it's the best Sony rant of all time. I pride myself in, look, I don't hate Sony, but I don't trust them.
I trust in your rants, though.
Thank you. Okay, so
where are we going? Yeah, you look lost in thought.
I know. Okay, so let's go. Okay, hold on. I've got a wow, you guys know a lot, different games, etc., which makes me jealous. When all I know about games is what's the best map of Call of Duty. You have me there, my friend. I have no idea what the best map of Call of Duty is because I don't play Call of Duty. I'm going to be honest with you. I suck at first-person shooters. But does that stop me from playing Halo and Gears of War? I would love to see another Gears of War. Though without Cliffy B, I'm not sure what's going to go on. How about another Bioshock? But then again, Ken Levine's gone, and they've basically sold off all the assets to another team. Holy crap! I'm opening up the brainwaves.
I'm kind of scared, man.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so real quick. The way that Zealeus picks up his games, completely random. Most of the time it's the bargain bin because he wants to make damn sure that the game is worth picking up and also that there's going to have enough support.
Well, okay, the last two games I purchased at full price, Star Wars The Old Republic and then WildStar, both on launch, ended up not holding my attention.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, screw it, I'm done buying new games. Diablo 3 was another one I bought new, which was...
I don't want to talk about Diablo 3. You want to talk... Oh, there's a perfect example of a game that let me down. Holy ballsack, that let me down.
Really? How do your balls feel about Diablo 3?
They blew up in depression.
You had the whole, like, lagging issue, too. Didn't you have mad lag issues with Diablo 3?
I had mad lag issues.
Because I remember we tried to play together, it just didn't work.
And the other thing is, do we like Zelda? Which one? Link to the Past? Phenomenal.
Maybe honest, I don't have the patience for Zelda. There's too much like
Skyward Sword.
There's too much like storyline and walking around and shit. I just like to kill things.
Okay, so here's for all of you individuals out there who have not met Zealeus's way of gaming. It is if you give him words that he has to read, he's not going to read them.
With-
He just basically wants to shoot, stab, set on fire, or basically just hack and slash his way through the entire
There
game.
are 2 exceptions to this rule.
Okay, go for it.
The Mass Effect series,
Okay, yep.
1, 2, 3, and Jade Empire.
Wait. Hold on. As long as you don't have to drive the Mako.
Yeah. You're right. The Mako does make me want to bludgeon my eyes out and my thumbs. I hate the Mako with an undying passion. Although it is much easier to use the Mako on the PC version, I found. Because I decided it was like $5 on the bargain bin for all 3 of them. It's like, what the hell? I'll buy the PC version, see how it compares. Yeah, it's much easier to use the Mako on the PC with the mouse control over a console controller. That and Jade Empire. Which both happen to be BioWare franchises. Imagine that.
Oh shit, that makes total sense.
What?
That's why they asked about Zelda. I'm wearing a fucking Zelda shirt. God.
You're losing it, yeah. You're losing it. Are you having pregnancy brain too?
No.
I'm kind of worried. I kind of worry.
Just so everyone knows, my wife is pregnant. That's why he's saying pregnancy.
I think it leaks.
What?
What? Totally wrong. Anyways, moving on.
Okay. Okay.
I know you had one other topic.
Yes,
you
I
told
had
me yesterday.
game length. Okay, so there has been a very interesting push in the video game media journalist section of, I guess, the internet or whatever. Basically, people are going, man, this game, what the hell? These games are so short. And then there's other people who are like, man, these games are too fucking long. So the question I have for Zealeus, and we're throwing MMOs out there, just because game. Okay, first of all, I don't even know how to go at that one. Well, I do, but that would be too long. So my question to you is, what is the right game length for, let's say, an action-adventure game? Does it depend on the price of said action-adventure game as well as the platform?
That's a very detailed question, yo.
I'm trying to, I'm just trying to...
I don't know if it's going to be that molded to formation what you asked. Games come out, so if we're talking AAA titles at least, they're going to be $60 when they come out regardless. And you have games that come out. The first one that comes to mind is Heavenly Sword. As far as, $60 AAA titles, that was a PlayStation 3 title, I think. It was like 8 hours of gameplay. Mm-hmm. And people were like, I remember that was one of those first games that really came out that people were like, man, this game is way too short. Mm-hmm. But the way I look at a lot of, especially the AAA titles as far as game length, is they all now try to implement some form of online gameplay. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not even talking MMOs now, just, even, the dude was talking about the Call of Duty. The Call of Duty, they now have their single-player missions, which are, 5 hours, but you're not playing it for the single player, you're playing it for the multiplayer, obviously. Mm-hmm. Same thing with sports games. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are now for the multiplayer, and I know you asked about the action/RPG games, and if you're going to go with those, or action-adventure, you're talking, the Diablos and games like that, which are online. But if you're talking just adventure, then you start talking games, say, like Tomb Raiders and The Last of Us, which, granted, I have not played those games, but I've heard that they're great games and of their length. So, it's it just depends. And that's one of the reasons I like to wait to not buy games for $60. I want to see what people are saying about things like that in the first place. But if you go outside of that realm, then you still get to, for instance, Japanese RPGs. Mm-hmm. Where, get games, even JRPGs are coming out today, that are, anywhere between 20 and 100 hours, depending on how much you want to make of it, and collecting all 80 characters. Okay.
Collecting 80 characters. There's a series called Suikoden. I loved it at the beginning, hated it near the end because they were just, you had to collect all 108 stars, which were actual characters, and the stars meant for the constellations.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Limbo Light's question.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna bring it up real quick in just a second here. I only buy games that would last more than 24 hours. Okay, yes. You know what? Here's the deal. If you are going to give me amazing, unique content and keep giving it to me, I will play it until the end. If you make me grind Or my favorite thing that a lot of the point-click adventures do to basically lengthen their games is you have to go, okay, so let's say that you have 4 locations. You have to go to this location number 2. And you're like, oh my God, I don't have the bottle of wax. So you go to location number 3. And ta-da, there's a candle, but you don't have a bottle. And it's, so candle's wax. So you try to go back to number 2. They're like, nope, still doesn't work. So you go to number 4. Ta-da, there's a jar. So you put the candle in the jar. You're like, oh man, okay. So you go back up to number 2, thinking, shit, well, there must be something there to, to burn it. Nope. You go back to number 3, and all of a sudden there's an open flame that you can. It's like, oh my God.
Okay, I will say there is one game that breaks the exception of the rule of game length.
What's that?
Heavy Rain.
Yes.
It's not a long game. It's only like 8 to 10 hours.
But still, it's
one of the most
to 10 amazing hours.
It is a game well worth whatever you have to pay for. It's just that high quality of a game where every single minute of the game is just phenomenal. So I think that's definitely an exception to maybe 8 to 10 hours isn't that long of a game. But at the same time, then you get games like Final Fantasy 13, isn't it? Where the bloody tutorial's like
32 hours.
32 hours! I got bored. I didn't even finish the tutorial, and I just felt like I was getting so damn repetitive. I'm like, I want to bash my head against the wall now.
I finished the tutorial and then promptly quit.
And so some games like that, like totally start with the grinding, especially for single-player games, there comes a point where I just don't care anymore. But
on the flip side, I want something that I can actually 2.5 hours. Okay, that's.
But I'm guessing you're also paying $5 for the game when it's 2.5 hours.
You hope.
You hope. Yes.
You hope. There's a game for the Xbox 360 called Section 8. The entire single-player game, I was able to complete, and I believe in 80 minutes.
That's pretty short.
I'm never going to play the online thing. Real quick, we're going to switch topics here. View on big game companies releasing before they're completely done. Ubisoft. What? Look, I understand from a financial standpoint that you have a set deadline. When you work for a publisher, the publisher basically holds your cojones in their hands, and they'll start squeezing the shit out of it if you don't have a big name on your team.
Thank you for that mental image.
You're welcome. Unless you're Blizzard. Then Blizzard,
they can still do whatever the hell they want.
I'm still waiting for StarCraft Ghost.
We'll see you in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Along with Half-Life 3.
Yeah, that too. Unity! That's right. Unity is the wonderful Assassin's Creed game that is still completely broken. Okay, so my view. There comes a time where you're going to have to cut your losses. If you are basically dragging out this game, Duke Nukem Forever, you're going to release it just so you can get off your plate. But at the same time, when you're doing a sequel for a game, please, for the love of God, don't try to do it within a year. Because that's what, I think it's like Black Flag maybe, or maybe Unity did that as well.
Black Flag was pretty shortly after the previous.
Well, it's because Black Flag got leaked. That reminds me, leaking is bad.
I'm not even touching that.
So here's the deal. The really quick, this actually goes into one of the topics that I'm going to be talking about at Canuga.
Canuga!
Well, actually, we'll be talking about it at Canuga.
I'm talking to Canuga!
And this is, when you're an independent developer, you have an amazing ability for freedom and to basically pick when you release your game. But you have to find the way to finance it. When you have a publisher, you have a lot of strict guidelines. One of them is probably a release date. So the issue is what Ubisoft should have done. And I'm just saying this as an outsider. I don't know all the inner workings. But what they should have done is they should have really QA'd the shit out of the game, because it obviously was not QA'd. And basically taken a little bit of a loss to get you the better game. Now, I understand that one of the big issues is you want to, with Unity, you're trying to meet a specific holiday goal of release of game. So everyone gets it in their stockings.
Of course.
If you have stockings or gift,
A digital stocking.
whatever. Releasing the game early is only going to hurt you. A lot of publishers will simply think, well, you know what? We've got such a brand name that people will come back and we'll fix it next time, which is sad, but that's what happens.
It seems so. But that's part of the mentality with the early release of these video games.
Right.
Is we can always patch it later. That's kind of become the mentality now. We're like, it's not quite ready. We need a month, but we'll get it out and then we'll release a day zero patch and get stuff fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas back in the day, you had to wait for the Game Informer to come into the mail with a disc to update your patches.
Oh, now we just did it.
I know, it's a glorious thing. I mean, it used to be, or if you got a game for your console, for your Nintendo, it was a cartridge. There was no patching of the damn cartridge. It just magically worked.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think one of the biggest issues is now that you have the ability to patch, yes, you can make a stronger game, but a lot of developers and publishers have gotten lazy thinking, we'll fix it later.
Yep, I would agree. It's frustrating, and I think that's one of the reasons that you also see, but then you also see, people, for instance, a big one was SimCity 3000, where everybody absolutely hated the release for a multitude of reasons, and the Amazon review page got flooded all with 0 or 1-star reviews, being like, this game is terrible, which I think we actually talked about in a podcast a couple months ago, if that's a good or bad thing.
Here's
but
the deal.
You also get the negative publicity pushback.
Right.
And now, games like the Black Flag or Assassin's Creed.
Unity, yep.
You're going to, if they come out with another Assassin's Creed, you're going to have a lot of people who are going to be like, I'm not buying that day one now, because we know what happened with Unity. Mm-hmm. And I'm definitely waiting till that gets to the bargain bin now, because it's such a crap release.
But that mentality, that is the danger, because let's be honest, there's a lot of games that come out every single day. AAA titles have basically decreased in releases, but the fact of the matter is, when you start with that mindset of I'll just get it when it gets to the bargain bin, chances are, the vast majority of the time, you're going to forget about the game until, literally its end of life.
Well, here's the thing, though. For me, though, it's not even necessarily bargain bin, because you bring up a good point. Is what happens, too, with a lot of these video games now, is it's not that you just get, you just don't get Game A. Now you get Game A with expansion B, C, D, E, and F. Mm-hmm. And so now all of a sudden, you bought $60 from the game, and you're paying $5 to $10 for 4 expansions, for little DLC packs.
Right.
So for me, it's not just the bargain bin of that. It's also now waiting for the Gold Collector's Uber Year Edition.
So you can get everything.
Where I can get everything in one.
Right.
Because take, for instance, a great series I loved for the Xbox 360 was Borderlands. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal game. So you play Borderlands on the Xbox, the original is fine, but then they come out with the expansions. Mm-hmm. So now I'm supposed to jump back into the expansion with my level, I forget, 50 or 60, whatever the top level was. And now you jump in, it's like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So it's kind of like if they had that expansion when I bought it, it's a different type of gameplay. So for me, I now like to wait, because of the proliferation of DLCs, to wait for that Game of the Year edition to come out. Mm-hmm. So everything's just one nice little package.
A question was asked, real quick. I totally agree. One, financially, I can't just buy every single game as soon as it comes out. Uh-huh. It's got to be a big name that I've been dying to get my hands on. When the new Halo comes out, I'll probably get a day of, because even though I suck at first-person shooters, I'm going to get it.
I hear you.
Where in America are you guys from? Okay.
I'm not trying an English accent.
No, moron. Could you try an English accent? Oh my God.
I wouldn't even know how to start.
Okay, so here's the funny thing. I could do accents, but when people ask me for a specific one, I can no longer do it. It has to be spur of the moment. So, okay. Just saying, as a fellow veteran gamer, we are in the next generation. Haven't seen any legit next-gen games. Right, absolutely. And to be honest with you, this is kind of shocking. Actually, okay, let me tell you a little story.
Wasn't there a question that you were going to ask?
Let me answer this one real quick, and then I'll go back to the question
Okay.
that is a dangerous question, as I stated in the chat window. Yes, absolutely. There's not been that groundbreaking, amazing game that everyone has to get, and the reality is because
You know what it was supposed to be? Destiny.
well, yeah, okay, Destiny.
It was
That
supposed to be.
Okay, but here's the deal. The fact of the matter is, we unfortunately live in a world where the word console is a misunderstood term. Console used to be a machine that plays just games. Now a lot of people say, well, the Xbox One console. To me, the Xbox One is a multimedia device.
It's like a Roku with better gameplay.
It's a Roku that can play, yes, exactly, with better games. The fact of the matter is, especially Sony, they're putting more emphasis on that multimedia dimension than it is for games. And that, of course, is shown because they sold off Sony Online Entertainment. I don't think there's going to be that big game, that earth-shattering game. Halo will probably be it for some people, but you have to be a first-person shooter fan. There's not that uber game that's going to draw in everyone to a specific console.
But that is also kind of the target audience of the demographic they're looking for.
Okay, yeah. So Xbox has always been more geared towards the first-person shooter. Yeah. I will fully admit that whole their whole franchise, Xbox 360 and Xbox One, they've always. I mean, that's the brand they want. But still, I just.
But you don't really have that game out, right? You don't really have that series or game for either console that's like, right. I want to go buy that console.
Absolutely. But the other thing is, if you were to look in a historical sense on the Xbox One was released in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to take the release of the Xbox One, I think it was November 2013. I could be wrong, but I think it was November 2013. If you do that up to today, and you take that amount of time, and you look at the number of games released for the Xbox One versus the number of games released for the 360 in that time frame, the 360 had a shit ton more of games. And the fact of the matter is, it's just games are not the important feature on these devices anymore.
Well, the other hard part too is for the console manufacturers is you're looking from a hardware standpoint. If you look back at the generations of Nintendos and the Super Nintendo and then going up to N64, is for what you got for that piece of hardware compared to what your normal Joe could build for a computer, it made a lot of technological sense to get a console. Because for the price point of what you're getting for the console versus your PC, the console would win every time. Unless you're like, uber computer builder. Whereas now, what's in the Xbox One and the PS4 is last-gen PC technology now.
Right.
And so, even the PS3 and the Xbox 360 were at least ahead of their time in terms of hardware technology when it compared to the PC. Mm-hmm. Whereas now, both consoles from a pure hardware standpoint of what they can do with the video game are already lagging behind their PC counterpoints.
Right. The only upside to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 over a PC is that when you get, you have to be a huge racing fan for. No, sorry, that's thinking Gran Turismo. That's Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a multi-platform game, so you could kind of argue, oh yeah, this would be great on this console or on that console, but okay. So I don't know if that would be like the game to buy the console for, because it's also on the PC. But going back to the one benefit for the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 and then the PC is that developers know the exact set of specs to expect for those systems. Where the PC is, you could have a crazy amount of weird configurations when you build your Frankenstein, like I've done. I've literally played games that was looking for. I had an NVIDIA card that was looking for another type of card, so it basically just junked up the game.
Yeah, and I mean that is a fair point of why it's harder to make a game for the PC. If you're building for, Windows XP, they still got to build for. Then you got Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8.1, which is a damn touchscreen on a regular computer, and then Do you have 64-bit? Do you have 32-bit?
Mm-hmm.
So you have an incredible amount of variables when it comes to the PC.
Right.
Whereas it is
console you know exactly what you're going to get. There are going to be like small little changes to kind of like optimize or maximize the graphical processor when you get like the Xbox 360 Elite versus the one that launched at the beginning. But you know, you're not going to see that big of a change. All right, the question that I said was uber dangerous. Is if you could design any type of game, make your own game, what would you call it? What would it be about? Story and what genre? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have enough time for me to go completely into this because, as stated before, I was a developer. Unfortunately, I'm no longer in the developing thing. I'm now a journalist in my free time. But I would make some kind of RPG. An RPG, let's just say, I don't know, I'm bouncing the name off my head. I'm going to just say Crystal Prime, which is a
very original.
Yes, I know. Homebrewed pencil and paper RPG that was created back in 98? 97? No, 98. 98.
No.
99?
Were we...
When were we in 5th grade?
Yeah, I want to say it was well before then, because we got to high school in 97, yo. We graduated high school in 2001, buddy.
I know.
So, you're talking about like 94, 95.
It can't be that early. Can it? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, 94,
anyways,
95,
okay, so Crystal Prime,
12 or 13.
Okay, this is going to really date us, but long time ago, in a land far away. Okay, fine, wasn't that far away. It was literally maybe like 6 miles down the street from this location. But me and a group of friends decided to play Dungeons & Dragons Advanced AD&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, second edition. Second edition. And we couldn't understand that code, so we decided to create our own pencil and paper RPG called Crystal Prime, which then got morphed and changed over the years, and then ended up actually got a resurgence when I went to Full Sail. Which, by the way, if you want to be a game designer, I highly recommend that you at least check out Full Sail University, because that's where I went. When I was at Full Sail, I basically brought Crystal Prime back, had gaming sessions, I think 2 or 3 times a week. It was pretty awesome. Unfortunately, and its current setting is not playable because I decided to redo a bunch of stuff. So, short, long answer is Crystal Prime. It would be an RPG. It would be an action RPG. Yeah.
What he said. I've thought about what video game I want to make, and I'm thinking, like, I'd make Civilization, but each city, you'd be able to be like Civ Rome and have your own little city builder. But then when you go into battle, it'd become like a real-time strategy, like Star Trek. So it'd be a combination of like every single video game genre in one. That'd be epic.
And also have a world rewind button. No, okay. Have we ever won money in competitive gaming? I suck at competitive gaming. I definitely went to the Smite World Championship and watched the awesomeness of it all. But let's be honest. I am a reviewer, so I don't really have the time it would take to really hone my skills on a specific game. Now, of course, that being said, I do play some Smite from time to time, and it really depends on how the frequency depends on how many douchebags go, "Oh my God, you don't know how to play this character!" in Assault gameplay, which for those of you who've never played Smite, Assault assigns you a random god. So yeah. Potentially, I've never played that god before, so I might not be that good. Real quick, a question that was asked from the audience: how often do we stream? Ladies and gentlemen, we are here every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
7 o'clock real time.
He used to live in Central Time, which I think is a made-up time.
It's the best time zone ever.
Whatever. Have you guys ever been to a gaming event, games convention?
Well, it's funny you asked.
Okay, so we go to a lot of conventions.
Well, okay, to rewind a little bit, Charlie goes, I have been living in the far tundra to the north of Minnesota, while Charlie here has been gallivanting to a number of conventions, which he will soon recite, I'm sure. I've been to one in my life. I've been to PAX East 2011?
2011, 2012.
Thank you. So, well, I'm pretty sure it just was 1 year.
No, you went 2 years. You went to PAX East twice.
Did I really?
Yeah, because the first convention was right next to the hotel. We got to walk through the mall to do it. And the second year, we had to take a shuttle to the convention center by the bay.
Well, I've been to PAX
that was
East twice. So I've been to that twice. Okay. And so been there twice. But since I live in Minnesota since then, I don't go to conventions in the South, but now that I live in Atlanta, I'm going to start going to conventions with Charlie, which he will soon recite. And he just had to take another shot because he's like, I'm cracked up on caffeine now.
Okay, so conventions. Gaming conventions, not really video game conventions. A lot of them kind of go more towards like the just like overall fandom conventions. Not the humongous ones, but to name a few, Zealeus and myself are actually going to Canoga next week. Next weekend.
Is that really next weekend?
Yeah.
Like 7 days from now?
27th, 28th, and March the 1st.
Oh, crap.
You need Friday off.
Oh, I do think I asked you that like 2 weeks
ago. And I told
you
yes, and of course you forgot. And you honestly just told me this
what
today,
did you tell
right?
Me?
Okay, this is coming from the dude who's like, I don't know, I can't remember.
Okay, fair point.
So anyways, Canoga is happening not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. We will be there. Potentially, Zealeus and I will be, Zealeus and I will be giving you 2 panels. I've got a funny one. Oh, God. I'll get to that in a second. I potentially could be on more panels. The person who's putting together the panels has asked if I have any free time, if I could jump on panels who might need some extra panelists. We're also going to MomoCon, which is in Atlanta, which is more of an anime convention, but they're trying to push more gaming into it. One of the smallest conventions we'll be going to is a convention called AndoCon, which I believe is happening in August. This is more of a board gaming convention. I've actually been to every single AndoCon, the real AndoCon, because it used to be a phony convention. Long story. I'll tell you later. We will also do Siege, which is the Georgia Game Developer Association convention. We'll do MonsterCon, which is in South Carolina. This year it's going to be at Gaffney. It usually was in Greenville. We are also hoping to get into DragonCon. We've got all our paperwork in, so ta-da! And there's always other conventions that are on the fringe that we just missed out on this year. We're going to try to expand next year. Fingers crossed. The only gaming events that I go to are the ones that deal with Smite, and that's because it's in Atlanta and we're based here in Atlanta, Georgia. So I go to them. Does that mean that yes, every single time I go to one of those, man, I want to play some Smite, and then I remember how terrible I am, and then I kind of push off. Okay, do you guys have a YouTube? Yes, we do. When you go to YouTube, put Altered Confusion. It's right there in the corner. Altered Confusion.
Yes, it is.
Just type that in to your YouTube thing. I don't know why I'm doing this.
Because you're typing. And I have my own channel, but I don't really put too much on it, to be honest.
You go there. We have all our playthroughs. This will actually be posted on there. I do a random video called Something Slightly Different. It's recorded. For those of you who are looking for a constant like video game, because I do stream some of the games that I play. I do not have a set time. I just kind of onto it. That's pop. I don't know. I'm making up noises. Yes, open up Pandora's box now. Worst YouTube gamer? I really don't know. I probably might be. Though I'm getting better.
I don't really watch YouTube streamers, the only time I watch YouTube game streamers is say I'm like going up against like a big boss in a MMO, then I'll watch like, basically the raid strategy for those.
Right.
So there's some really good ones and I've seen some really bad ones. But funny thing, I don't remember the bad ones. I just go to the next one. So there are some really, and you pretty quickly learn, at least in the MMO world, okay, whose strategies am I going to find? So I actually have a good strategy for the next boss.
There was also a question, if you could freeze time, what would you do? I would play every single game that I'm supposed to be reviewing right now and write and completely write a story. I am infamous for starting stories and never completing them. I have currently 8 incomplete stories. One of them was pretty good. At least that's what everyone keeps telling me. But I don't know if it's one of those hearty pat on the backs like, oh, you did so great. Please don't ask me to read it again. Thank you. I like my shirt too. But yeah, I would basically catch up on all the stuff that I need to do.
If I could freeze time, I would go hiking on the Appalachian Trail.
Nice.
That's what I would do.
If I could freeze time, I would go on a world tour.
There you go.
I want to go. Okay, so little side story here. I've always wanted to go to Ireland. First time I tried to go, hoof mouth disease, so I couldn't do it. Second time, I was literally almost ready to buy my ticket, and at the last minute, the person who was going to go with me got the chance of a lifetime to do an internship in over in California, and so that got canceled.
Who's that?
My sister.
Oh.
So
Right on.
sad day. FIFA YouTubers are the best. I don't know with the glasses, but yes, you too, I guess.
Oh, me? The guy at the... Oh, thanks. It's a... Yeah. Thermal?
Yes, thermal underwear, man.
Put on my torso. Woo! Yes. Anything else? Because, yeah, I think...
Okay. I think we've gone through all this stuff here, and unfortunately, I think we're going to have to wrap it up because Zealeus has to go home.
Actually, I don't have to work tomorrow, so I don't
Oh, well, never mind.
Yeah, I don't have to
Party
work
on,
tomorrow, man. Party on, Wayne. God. I just watched the SNL 40th anniversary today.
So did I. Well, not today, but it was okay.
I don't think I watched enough SNL, honestly, to get most of the in jokes. So most of the stuff, I was like, I don't get it. But it was still fun to watch.
Okay, so let's ask the audience. Any questions, thoughts, concerns, criticisms that you want to throw at us?
Since we're sitting here with nothing to do but drinking my sadly empty Frappuccino, which makes me very sad.
Would you like me to start naming independent games that you should check out? Because I could do that. I sure as hell can do that.
Yes, Charlie would be happy to do that. Actually, there was a question up above.
What's that question?
Somebody was asking about video games. Oh, what? Okay.
What introduce you guys to gaming? Ooh.
I have the Beholder.
Good question. I have the Beholder. I'm going to go with...
We had an old 486 SX processor down in my parents' basement.
Oh, boy.
And we had the, bringing back the old school. And it was the Eye of the Beholder. And this is like the dungeon style where like you're literally moving from square to square to square.
Mm-hmm.
And the DRM, Digital Rights Manager of the day, is you got so far to be like, on page 47 of the instruction manual, what was the second line's third word? And that was like the check to see if you actually authenticated buying the game. But then the real hook, line, and sinker for me for video games was actually Civilization 2. I played a lot of hours of Civilization 2 sitting up in our workroom.
Yeah.
That was like the one that got me into it originally.
What introduced me into gaming? Man, I have... Okay, I'm going to really date myself, and you're going to have to Google this because this game probably has been dead for a long time. But I'm going to say a game called Think Quick, which is a phenomenal game when I was a little kid. Or a kid, not little. I was never little. I'm 6'4". I was never little.
You were little once upon a time.
No, I wasn't. I was like in the 90th percentile for my height for my entire life. But I would say the true game that got, or the true series that really got me into gaming was the King's Quest series.
I knew you were going to say that.
Basically, my dad and I would play that, and we would have the would you guys like an Oculus Rift if you could? Yes. Okay. All right. Let's open this can of worms.
Alienware. I build my own computers, Mr. Gurr, so I don't really know anything about Alienware.
I think that's more along the lines of Steam Box, and I'm not going into Steam boxes.
Oh, yeah. I don't know anything about
But anyways, Oculus Rift. If I could get my hands on Oculus Rift, would I? Absolutely. The only issue I have with Oculus Rift is I'm so far so good with the fact that I think that people are actually trying to they're actually trying to utilize the entire technology and not try to make a gimmick. That's one of the biggest issues that I have with what I call the Nintendo paperweight, or sorry, the Wii.
Well, it was so popular at first, man. Remember how
because
hard
it's
it was
all
to
gimmick.
get?
But the thing was, it's all gimmick. The unfortunate thing is when you have something new, something unique, something next generation, a lot of people will try to flood that stuff with shovelware, and so then people are like, "Oh, this is the only type of stuff that we can that's going to come out for this," and then it gets dropped, and then a lot of the bigger names that could actually make that system amazing go, we're not going to waste our time. Now, that being said, Oculus Rift, my one concern, and I don't know if it's founded or not, is that because it's now owned by Facebook, there's a rumor that they're going to put more emphasis on the social media aspect and create the new version of Facebook, which that scares the bejesus out of me.
But at the same time, there are alternatives to the Oculus.
There's still a lot of developers out there who are developing amazing things for the Oculus. One of the things, I have a friend, some of you might know him out there. Okay, bye, Gur. Some of you might know him out there. His name is Bobby Blackwolf. He actually has stereo vision, so he can't see in 3D. So the Oculus Rift actually allowed him for the first time ever to see in 3D, which is kind of cool.
And I do think, though, in a way, if the Oculus Rift and its technology can actually be implemented by developers in a good way, I definitely think it could bring about a new type of gaming that people actually play on a regular basis. Because here's the problem, I think, with the Nintendo Wii and like the Kinect and stuff, is required a different type of interaction with the game. Because like you actually had to wave your hands or do this. In the end, gamers either want a keyboard or mouse or a controller.
Yep.
In the long run, that seems what most gamers are gravitating back towards. Using the Oculus Rift, you're still using, potentially a console controller or your keyboard and mouse. It's just with a different interface to see what's going on around you. And I think especially for your your hardcore gamers, I think absolutely. I definitely think there can be a market for that. And the one that's really, I can't remember the name of the game right now. It's a space shooter type of game. That's just totally escaping me. That's made specifically to play with the Oculus Rift. It's apparently the game's actually supposed to be really good. And that's what it's made for. It's made for you don't have to play it with the Oculus, but it's supposed to be a really great game. So I think as long as developers don't start, adding on, here's your friend playing over in the corner because you connect with Facebook now, it's actually to enhance gaming. I really think it could kind of be the next revolution in your gaming experience.
Right.
That's what I think it is the next big thing in gaming. Because I think we're kind of getting to the point, I know we've been saying this for the last 20 years, where people don't want just better graphics.
Right.
They want something else. We've been doing the keyboard and mouse console controller for 20 years. We want something different in our gaming experience that doesn't require a gimmick. I really think some kind of, whether it's the Oculus Rift, because there's other competitors. Sony's making their own.
The Mobius, I think is what
you have, there's a open source project that another company is doing, which is all open source hardware and software. So there are companies investing a whole lot of money and resources into this technology. I really think it will become something more than basically the Wii or motion controls in the long run.
If the Oculus Rift catches off, there is a game. Someone's spamming the shit out of us.
Yeah, just a little.
There is a game that that I would love to see in reality.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Did I click on it? Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the games that, okay, first of all, I'm an anime fanatic. Okay, I'm just going to say that right now. One of the games I would love to see created for realsy. Don't worry, that person's gone. Is .hack. I want to see the world, but the problem is I don't want my soul or mind to get trapped in the game.
So I really think that's going to be I really think the 3D gaming type of thing is going to go somewhere, but I also think the idea of MMOs, multiplayer online role-playing games, is going to, the content and the immersibility in that content and kind of the dynamic aspect of basically perpetual worlds is only going to increase in time.
Right.
I just don't see the core style of gameplay of our interfacing with the keyboard and mouse controller going away anytime soon.
Mhm.
And, that's what we've been doing for the last 20 years. I just don't see that changing. But I think just that games are going to continue to stay online. Single player games are going to continue to kind of go by the wayside.
Right.
And games are going to...
No!
I know it's a terrible thing, Charlie. But they continue to just stay online. I think developers are really going to try to create more of an immersive world because you now have experience and devices capable of doing that type of stuff.
Right.
So that's kind of what I see. For instance, like with World of Warcraft, what they do with the expansion is you now have Outpost, which kind of like dynamically change what's going on. Or when Rift came out, their big thing was you now have rifts that are dynamically happening on the maps. So they're like random encounters. And now it's kind of their big thing, hence the name of the game, Rift. And that in the world of MMOs is a pretty big freaking deal to like have this dynamic content. Wow.
Right.
And I think just that idea of that's going to happen more and more in not just MMOs, but all types of video games where somehow it's some type of perpetual world. That's just
that's what they wanted to do with Destiny, and
but then again, you're always going to have the issue of can publishers pull ass from head and make a game that isn't.
You mean head from ass?
Yes. That'd be really awkward the other way around. But it was one of the first things we talked about.
Right.
It was releasing those AAA titles 2 months before they're supposed to be released. No matter how
they should have been released.
Yeah. No matter how ambitious your game is or how cool it should be, if you release it 2 months before it should have been, it's going to suck.
Right. Okay. We are now approaching the hour-and-a-half mark, so we're going to have to wrap up. But we do want to answer one more question. That is, where do we see gaming in 30 years?
I thought I was just answering that. Gonna be honest.
I know. It's my turn.
Okay. I thought you were asking me again. I was like, really? Were you listening to me? Probably not. That's okay.
I was listening. Man, okay. It's going to evolve. I think we're going to get closer and closer to that 1-to-1 ratio where you're going to have, like you were saying, the total immersion of the player and the dynamically created content to keep everyone happy. It'd be very interesting to see. Are we entering a world where the game will have super awesome glasses so that we can work in one side? Actually, you know what? Where do I see gaming in 30 years?
He's revisiting his thought process.
If y'all have not read the book, and I highly recommend that you do, read the book Ready Player One. I thought you were going
to say Snow Crash.
No. Ready Player One. That is where I see gaming in 30 years.
I do not know that book.
Read it. No, seriously. Read the book. It's phenomenal. It's very interesting. It's about a futuristic society, the way that everyone interacts with, and basically everything is through a virtual network.
My recommendation, along the same lines, read Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash, if you're into that type of stuff. Another phenomenal book set in the future with, possible virtual realities of some sort. Don't want to give it away, but another great of those futuristic books.
Well, there you go.
We like books, too.
Yes, we do. I like a lot of stuff. Way too much stuff.
If only there were more hours in the week.
I know. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the Ultra Confusion Thursday night hangout. Tune in next week. We start at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank everybody who tuned in and chatted us up and gave us additional content so we can actually run our chat an hour more than we first anticipated, because when we don't have that many people interacting with us, we only last about 30 minutes, but now we've breached the hour and 30 minutes, which is kudos to you guys.
It's already past my bedtime.
Zealeus is struggling, even though in reality it's 8:30 in his real world. I don't know.
You do have a point there.
So anyways, thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll be here next week. We'll probably be giving you all a little bit of a peek about our Canuga trip. And I'm sure we'll have a ton of content to give you. And of course, if y'all come back or you want to continue to add on, go to alteredconfusion.com. That's our website. You see all the news that we've written about, all the games we've reviewed. Of course, we've got a Facebook page. We've got a YouTube page. What the ever living? Okay. Anyways, you can read that later. But anyways, thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week. And yes, it's been an awesome evening.
And remember, kids, keep on gaming in the free world.
Amen to that, brother.